What if the world watched a royal pregnancy that never actually happened? In a stunning twist just revealed, King Charles's lifelong confidant of 65 years, Sir Nicholas, has come forward with a revelation shaking the monarchy to its core. He claims Meghan Markle never carried Archie Harrison, alleging the entire pregnancy was staged using a moon bump. As questions explode over royal legitimacy, succession rights, and the integrity of the crown itself, we break down the timeline, expose the hidden surrogate whispers, and reveal what Sir Nicholas says really happened behind palace gates. Stay with us. What you're about to. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Under the dim weight of 1,000 royal secrets, one of the most jarring allegations to ever threaten the foundations of the British monarchy has erupted with a force no one saw coming. Just moments ago, a revelation was unleashed by none other than Sir Nicholas, a man who has been closer to King Charles for over 6 decades than even most senior royals. This isn't mere speculation. This isn't gossip churned from the digital mills of online forums. This is an insider account, sharpened by time, memory, and now, unshakable resolve. Sir Nicholas, once a silent pillar behind the monarchy's veil of composure, has broken ranks to deliver a bombshell that could fracture trust between the royal family and the public forever. According to Sir Nicholas, Meghan Markle never carried Archie Harrison. That's right. The Duchess of Sussex, whose every movement during that highly publicized pregnancy was studied, celebrated, and endlessly analyzed, allegedly staged it all. He claims the pregnancy was faked. And not just faked vaguely or conceptually. No, the bombshell lands with a thunderous specificity. Meghan used what's known as a moon bump, a prosthetic pregnancy belly designed to look natural under clothes and mimic the movements and form of a growing baby bump. When this revelation surfaced, royal watchers, commentators, and even some hardened skeptics blinked in disbelief. The implications? Explosive. We're talking about questions of royal succession, betrayal at the heart of the firm, the legality of the birth certificate, the legitimacy of Archie's royal standing, and above all, a colossal manipulation of public trust. But why now? Why is Sir Nicholas, after all these years of loyalty, finally speaking out? And why has he gone on record with such a bold, incendiary claim? To understand that, we have to travel back in time, past the flashy headlines, past the staged hospital photo ops, past the polished PR statements from Kensington Palace. Back to the whispered doubts that began during Meghan's very public pregnancy with Archie Harrison. From the beginning, there were signs. Inconsistencies in her bump size from day to day, wardrobe malfunctions caught on live camera, awkward body angles and belly movements that made even casual viewers scratch their heads. But few dared speak the words aloud. After all, this was the royal family. A well-oiled, image-controlled, centuries-old institution that crushed dissent from within and deflected scrutiny from outside. And yet, those early whispers never truly died. They grew in corners of the internet, amplified by freeze-frame YouTube clips, breakdowns by skeptical commentators, and blog posts from former palace staffers cloaked in anonymity. What started as internet conspiracy slowly morphed into underground speculation, and now has taken center stage as a verified bombshell. Sir Nicholas' statement, dropped in a private media circle and immediately leaked to journalists, doesn't mince words. He claims that the use of the moon bump was a deliberate deception not only aimed at the public but also at senior members of the royal household. He says it was part of a broader strategy to secure royal titles, ensure favorable coverage, and cement the Sussexes' place in the future of the monarchy before their eventual exit to America. In his words, the bump was foam, not flesh. And the deception was as calculated as it was cruel. But let's take a pause here. Who exactly is Sir Nicholas, and why does his voice carry such thunderous weight in royal circles? Sir Nicholas Hardwicke, known to insiders simply as Nico, is no fringe royal commentator. He's a seasoned confidant of King Charles. Their friendship traces back to their early years at Gordonstoun, the harsh Scottish boarding school known for molding resilient royals. Through thick and thin, the Diana years, the Camilla scandal, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and Charles's ascension to the throne. Nicholas has been a consistent presence. He's advised on protocol, kept foreign dignitaries close, and helped discreetly resolve behind-the-scenes family tensions. If the Queen had her private secretary and the late Prince Philip his naval confidants, Charles has always had Sir Nicholas. So when someone like him speaks out, especially against the palace machine, it's not taken lightly. And yet, Sir Nicholas insists he's not doing this for drama, fame, or even revenge. According to him, he's doing it for the integrity of the crown, and perhaps more strikingly, out of concern for the monarchy's future. The monarchy cannot be built on lies, he stated. If we are to protect the House of Windsor, then we must confront the errors and deceptions that threaten it from within. Those are not the words of a man playing games. They are the words of someone who believes a line was crossed and must now be redrawn. Let's rewind again to the pregnancy itself. Meghan Markle's pregnancy with Archie Harrison was announced with flair. Kensington Palace confirmed it in October 2018, just as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex embarked on their royal tour of Australia, Fiji, Tonga, and New Zealand. The timing was immaculate. The couple was riding high on waves of global adoration, and the pregnancy only amplified their stardom. Crowds cheered, media gushed, and the monarchy seemed to welcome a new era of multicultural modernity. But within that polished performance, some began to notice cracks. At one stop, Meghan's bump seemed significantly larger than just a few days prior. During another event, she bent down, knees to the floor, in a way that left some midwives questioning the physical plausibility of such emotion at her alleged stage of pregnancy. Then there were the wardrobe malfunctions, clips where her belly shifted unusually, as if made of material rather than flesh. These weren't rumors concocted by faceless Twitter accounts. These were videos available to the public, dissected frame by journalists and skeptics alike. Still, the mainstream media and royal PR forces worked overtime to suppress the murmurs. Anyone asking questions was branded a conspiracy theorist, a racist, or a misogynist. The public was told to embrace the glow, the glamour, and the symbolism of Meghan's journey, a divorced biracial woman marrying into British royalty and now carrying a royal heir. It was history in the making. But history, as Sir Nicholas would argue, should be based on truth, not illusion. According to his detailed breakdown, Sir Nicholas alleges that even senior palace aides were kept in the dark about the truth. A very tight inner circle controlled all visuals, statements, and media access. Security around the birth location was unusually strict. Meghan and Harry did not pose for the traditional hospital steps photos. Instead, they opted for a private photo session days later, raising eyebrows about the delay. Then came the birth certificate, which listed Meghan's occupation as Princess of the United Kingdom, but contained no information about medical personnel or hospital staff. An anomaly, to say the least. Fast forward to now, and Sir Nicholas says he's seen enough. With King Charles now reigning and the monarchy entering a precarious new chapter amid scandals, slimmed-down operations, and public skepticism, he believes this is the moment to bring the truth forward, regardless of consequences. Truth does not rot the monarchy, he declared. It is the rot of silence that breaks us. Already, the palace is rumored to be in damage control mode. Emergency meetings. Media blackouts. Quiet calls to senior editors. But nothing, it seems, can fully contain the wildfire once it's been lit, especially when the match is struck from within the royal circle itself. This introduction, with its weighty claims and damning tone, is not just an entry point to gossip or theory. It is a call to examine the structure of the monarchy itself, to ask hard questions about transparency, accountability, and the cost of image over reality. In the coming sections, we will explore the pregnancy timeline in forensic detail. We will look at what exactly a moon bump is, how it works, and how it might have been used. We will dive deep into the conflicting reports, the quiet resignations of palace aides, the public appearances that now look different in hindsight. We will hear from anonymous former staffers. We will confront legal ramifications. And yes, we will question the line of royal succession itself. Because if this allegation is true, if Archie Harrison was not born of Meghan Markle but instead carried by another woman in secret, then we are looking not just at personal betrayal, but constitutional chaos. Stay with us. It's difficult to find someone in the shadowed world of royalty who commands both intimacy and credibility. Yet Sir Nicholas Hardwicke, known simply to those within royal gates as Nico, has long held such a dual distinction. For over 6 decades, he has been the silent, watchful confidant of King Charles, a man who walked beside him through scandal, sovereignty, and sorrow. And now, the very man who once protected the monarchy's secrets has become the one unearthing its most volatile truth. To fully understand the gravity of Sir Nicholas's revelation, one must first understand who this man truly is, how deep his connection to the crown runs, and why his voice now shakes the walls of Buckingham Palace to their foundation. This is not a media-hungry outsider or an estranged, distant cousin seeking relevance. This is a cornerstone of royal memory, a living archive of truths too delicate to be recorded in official history. Born in 1948 to an aristocratic family with ties to both military and diplomatic service, Sir Nicholas Hardwicke was bred for proximity to power. His father, Brigadier Arthur Hardwicke, served as a senior advisor to King George VI, and his mother, Lady Alice Harrington, once played hostess to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, during wartime fundraisers. The Hardwickes were steeped in service, loyalty, and an unspoken code: protect the sovereign at all costs. Young Nicholas was sent to Gordonstown, the same rigorous Scottish boarding school that Prince Charles would later attend. It was there, amidst brutal winter hikes and icy dormitories, that the two boys first met. Charles, shy and often tormented by the school's harshness, found quiet support in Nicholas, 3 years his senior and already earning respect for his discretion and strength. Nicholas was never a loud protector. He was the steady type, always observing, always 2 steps ahead of trouble. Their friendship deepened over the years, particularly during the tense 1970s when Charles began navigating adult life under the microscope of a global press. Whether it was Charles's strained early romances, his complex courtship with Lady Diana Spencer, or the fallout of the infamous Camillagate scandal, Sir Nicholas was there, often just off camera, sometimes standing silently behind palace walls. Always present, he became more than a friend. Over time, he grew into an unofficial counselor, a figure Charles trusted not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Sir Nicholas held no royal title of influence. He wasn't bound by protocol in the same way courtiers were. That made his words more valuable. He wasn't paid to agree. He was chosen because he didn't. By the time Charles took on more public duties in the 1980s and eventually prepared for kingship in the new millennium, Sir Nicholas had become a fixture at every major milestone. He was at Balmoral during the Queen's final days. He was present in the private rooms during Charles's coronation planning. He was consulted, though never officially, during Prince William's wedding. And he remained a source of measured wisdom during the chaotic unraveling of Harry and Meghan's departure. Yet despite his proximity, Sir Nicholas has always kept to the shadows. He's never given an interview. He's never written a memoir. In fact, most royal historians describe him as the man in the background of every royal photograph who never said a word. His name, whispered often among palace insiders, is a hallmark of discretion. So why, after decades of silence, has he spoken now? According to insiders close to the matter, Sir Nicholas had been privately troubled for years by what he calls a corruption of the monarchy's core values. He watched with growing concern as protocol was tossed aside for optics. He reportedly raised questions internally when Meghan and Harry veered sharply off traditional paths, their secret wedding claim, the abandonment of royal duties, and most importantly, the strangely concealed birth of Archie Harrison. Still, he kept his counsel until recently. Multiple sources confirmed that in the weeks leading up to his public disclosure, Sir Nicholas made several attempts to speak with King Charles privately. Whether those meetings were denied or discouraged is still unclear, but those close to the situation suggest that Sir Nicholas believed the palace had no stomach for the truth. When his warnings were ignored, he decided to act. What followed was a controlled leak, not to tabloids or sensationalist websites, but to a select circle of legacy journalists and royal biographers. The content of his statement? Allegations that Meghan Markle had never been pregnant with Archie, that a prosthetic moon bump had been used, and that several high-ranking aides were either complicit or silenced during the process. The reaction inside the palace was immediate and panicked. For someone like Sir Nicholas to go rogue was unheard of. He wasn't an estranged family member like Thomas Markle or a disgruntled ex-employee. He was royal glue, and royal glue does not melt unless the entire structure is under threat. Yet Sir Nicholas remains unapologetic. Those who have spoken with him say he feels liberated for the first time in years. He believes the public deserves to know the truth. If the monarchy is to survive another generation, he reportedly told a friend, it must be built on truth, not illusion. No family, royal or not, should expect to lie to its people and escape the consequences. His motivation, as many have noted, appears not to be vengeance but preservation. For Sir Nicholas, this is about course correction. It's about pulling the monarchy back from a precipice of staged appearances, manipulated narratives, and PR theatrics. And in his mind, the alleged moon bump scandal represents the most dangerous deceit yet, because it doesn't just blur the line between truth and fiction. It redefines it. For critics, the timing is suspect. They argue that Sir Nicholas's revelations come at a moment when public sympathy toward the Sussexes is waning and the royal family is attempting to restore its moral authority. For supporters, it's a rare glimpse of accountability from within an institution long criticized for secrecy and spin. But whether you believe Sir Nicholas is a disillusioned loyalist or a heroic whistleblower, one thing is beyond debate. His words have set off shockwaves that will be felt across the royal establishment for years to come. Already, questions are swirling. Could this statement trigger a formal investigation? Might it prompt public pressure to review royal birth protocols or title eligibility? Will King Charles respond, either in subtle signals or direct address? And how will Prince Harry and Meghan Markle confront or dismiss such serious accusations? These are not questions born from gossip. They are being raised within media boardrooms, among MPs, and inside the House of Lords. Royal historians are scrambling to assess the damage. Former palace aides are reportedly being asked to sign reaffirmations of confidentiality. And King Charles, sources say, is privately furious, not necessarily at Sir Nicholas, but at the situation itself. Because Sir Nicholas, more than anyone, knows where the pressure points lie. He knows the weak spots in the narrative. And if he's speaking out now, many fear it's just the beginning. In the next chapter, we will investigate the moon bump theory in its full context. What is a moon bump? How does it work? And when did suspicions first begin? What inconsistencies were seen in Meghan's public appearances, and why were early skeptics silenced so aggressively? We'll break down the first murmurs that question the legitimacy of the pregnancy and dissect the growing mountain of visual, behavioral, and testimonial evidence that supports Sir Nicholas's explosive claim. In the early days of Meghan Markle's pregnancy announcement, a wave of excitement swept across the globe. The Duchess of Sussex, newly married into one of the world's most influential royal families, was carrying the next royal heir. Headlines blazed across screens and newspapers. Paparazzi lenses sharpened. Every public appearance Meghan made became a source of analysis, from the cradling of her bump to the outfits she wore. But behind the overwhelming adoration and celebratory media coverage, another story began to take shape, one darker, whispered, and at first dismissed as fringe. That story was the moon bump theory. At the heart of this theory is a simple but deeply unsettling allegation. Meghan Markle was never pregnant with Archie Harrison. According to growing numbers of independent researchers, digital sleuths, former palace insiders, and now even a close friend of King Charles, Sir Nicholas himself, the pregnancy was staged. A prosthetic, known in theatrical and maternity circles as a moon bump, may have been used to mimic a real pregnancy. So what exactly is a moon bump? And how did such a bold accusation gain traction? The term moon bump refers to a manufactured silicone or foam-based prosthetic belly designed to resemble the natural appearance of a pregnancy at various stages. These props are often used in television shows, films, and theatrical performances to help actresses portray pregnant characters convincingly. High-quality versions can simulate movement, weight distribution, and even mimic the look of a fetus shifting inside the womb. They're designed for visual believability, and to the untrained eye, or even the public eye, they can pass for the real thing. Available online through various specialized suppliers, moon bumps come in multiple styles and stages of growth. They can be strapped, glued, or tucked under clothing. Some are basic forms. Others include heating elements or memory foam layers to warm the touch, giving them a realistic feel. And in the era of camera angles, lighting tricks, and strategic wardrobe styling, distinguishing between a real baby bump and a prosthetic one is harder than ever. This video clip quickly became a case study in skepticism. Mothers, physiotherapists, and even obstetricians across various online platforms commented that the ease of that motion was physiologically suspicious. A 32-week pregnant woman, they argued, would struggle with balance and mobility, especially in heels, and her center of gravity would make that sort of squat difficult without obvious discomfort or assistance. January 2019, wardrobe malfunctions, and more volume fluctuations. Into the new year, Meghan's appearances grew more frequent, and so did the inconsistencies. During a visit to Birkenhead, she wore a vivid purple dress with a red coat. Photos from that day showed her bump protruding in a very low-sitting position, unusual for a woman in her final trimester, as most baby bumps begin to rise upward as the fetus turns head down. 2 days later, at the Mayhew Animal Welfare charity event, Meghan appeared in a slim-fitting black dress, with what seemed like a considerably smaller bump, higher and rounder. It was during this period that a major visual contradiction occurred. She was seen switching between noticeably low, swinging bumps and high, firm ones, all within the span of days. One frame-by-frame video posted online documented the bump visibly shifting to one side during a simple turn. As she turned toward a reporter, the bump shifted right then left, in a motion uncharacteristic of an actual pregnancy belly. The theory among skeptics? The moon bump had rotated slightly within her dress. February 2019. Baby shower in New York. Meghan's baby shower in New York City was lavish, private, and unusually mysterious. No press were allowed. Meghan was seen leaving her hotel under heavy security, covering her belly with a coat and bags, a move interpreted by some as an effort to hide the bump's condition. Inside reports from the hotel staff leaked to social media that Meghan wore multiple outfits during the party, and that at least one included a very hard-looking bump beneath her dress. A witness anonymously told a local paper that it didn't move at all. It looked glued on. This fueled deeper suspicion that the bump may have been a moon bump, and that Meghan was managing visual presentations depending on the situation. It also raised the question, if the pregnancy were real, why avoid standard public interactions? Why hide the bump if all was natural? March 2019, the folding bump and photo angle censorship. This was the most infamous visual moment. During the Commonwealth Day service, Meghan wore a tight white coat over a cream dress. As she sat and stood throughout the ceremony, one photographer captured what appeared to be a crease, a deep fold, near the lower part of her bump. It looked as though fabric had compressed over a dense object, rather than soft tissue. The photo sparked immediate backlash online and was swiftly pulled from certain media websites. Following this, royal correspondents reported that photographers were instructed to avoid low-angle shots of the Duchess moving or sitting. This was the first known instance of active visual control around Meghan's belly. April 2019, due date confusion and no baby yet. By April, the palace confirmed that Meghan was due any day now. But strangely, no birthing preparations were made public. There was no hospital notification, no media staging at the Lindo Wing, the traditional royal birth hospital. Weeks passed. No baby. Public frustration turned to confusion. Some royal watchers wondered if the birth had already occurred in secret. Others questioned whether there had been complications. But among those still skeptical of the pregnancy, this silence only deepened the mystery. The idea that no doctors were seen, no ambulances reported, and no hospital visits announced led to one conclusion among theorists: the pregnancy was never real, and the final stage required an especially tight lockdown. May 6, 2019. Archie's birth. At last, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was announced to have been born in the early hours of May 6. But even this came with contradictions. First, the birth certificate listed Portland Hospital, a private facility. Yet no staff members were ever interviewed. No eyewitnesses saw Meghan enter or leave the hospital. There were no traffic blockades, no security sweeps, unlike every previous royal birth. There were also no confirmation statements from the hospital itself. Then, the baby was presented to the world 2 days later during a tightly controlled photo op at Windsor Castle. No questions were allowed. Only a select photographer and one video camera were present. Meghan looked unusually slim. Many noted her stomach was already flat, a near impossible feat just 48 hours post-delivery for most women. Conclusion: a timeline of anomalies. Each of these events, when isolated, might be dismissed as coincidence, camera tricks, or just Meghan having an easy pregnancy. But taken together, they form a timeline riddled with visual, behavioral, and procedural inconsistencies. From fluctuating bump sizes and shifting positions to the complete absence of standard royal birth procedure, the timeline presents far too many irregularities to ignore. The notion of the moon bump, once ridiculed, now carries the weight of royal eyewitness testimony, digital documentation, and strategic avoidance patterns. In the next chapter, we explore the one topic few have dared to approach in full. If Meghan didn't carry Archie, then who did? We dive into surrogate whispers, rumored NDA payments, and the invisible woman at the center of the biggest royal pregnancy controversy of the century. For months, the public was mesmerized by the idea of a glowing Duchess of Sussex preparing to welcome her firstborn into the world. Yet beneath the carefully staged photographs and curated appearances, an alternate narrative grew in silence, whispered by palace staff, hinted at by suspicious movements, and now propelled into daylight by the stunning statement from Sir Nicholas. If Meghan Markle was not, in fact, pregnant with Archie Harrison, the natural question follows: who was? Chapter 4 turns its attention toward the whispers of a surrogate, a woman hidden in the shadows, reportedly bound by confidentiality agreements, and paid handsomely to carry a royal heir under a strict veil of secrecy. This chapter does not seek to shame or condemn such arrangements, as surrogacy in itself is neither illegal nor immoral. What it does examine is the allegation that this was not a surrogacy conducted with transparency and dignity, but a royal deception orchestrated to manipulate the public, secure legacy, and control royal succession narratives. The possibility of a surrogate began surfacing almost immediately after the moo bump theory started gaining traction. The inconsistencies in Meghan's pregnancy presentation, coupled with the absence of visible medical supervision, gave rise to the suggestion that someone else may have been carrying Archie behind the scenes. Anonymous posts began appearing on forums and message boards claiming to have knowledge of a woman in the U.S., possibly Canadian or American, who had been contracted by Meghan and Harry for a private, discreet surrogacy. The first major clue came from a social media post, now deleted, which claimed a midwife in Toronto had quietly resigned from her practice after allegedly being involved in a highly confidential overseas delivery. Though unconfirmed, the post included the initials SM and mentioned ties to a celebrity with international status and heavy legal ties. At the time, this was too vague to draw firm conclusions. But in light of recent revelations and the tightening of the timeline, many investigators now look back at that post as an early breadcrumb. Another key moment in the surrogate theory involved the Duchess's highly publicized trip to New York City in February 2019 for her baby shower. The media frenzy surrounding the event emphasized the glitz, a $200,000 penthouse suite, Serena Williams and Amal Clooney in attendance, luxury gifts galore. But what was less discussed was Meghan's intense insistence on privacy. She arrived and departed covered in heavy clothing, avoiding cameras at every turn. According to one hotel employee, who spoke anonymously, Meghan wasn't glowing like someone about to give birth, she looked like someone staging it. Could it have been that during this trip, Meghan met with the surrogate, either to monitor the pregnancy or, as some believe, to finalize post-birth arrangements? That theory gained steam when private aviation records showed a second, unregistered flight arriving in Teterboro Airport the same week, a flight reportedly tied to a lesser-known foundation based out of California, which was later linked to the Markle family circle. The passengers remain unknown, but conspiracy theorists believe one of them could have been the surrogate being quietly brought in for medical or legal consultation. Beyond public speculation, multiple insider claims started surfacing that detailed how the arrangement was allegedly managed. According to one unnamed palace employee who later resigned in late 2019, only a select trio of people had knowledge of the situation. This inner circle reportedly included one high-ranking palace aide, a private doctor connected to the royal household, not the NHS, and a legal consultant based in Canada. These individuals, according to the whistleblower, were tasked with overseeing not only the surrogate's safety and health, but also the management of confidentiality agreements and the silencing of any staff who asked too many questions. The surrogate, the whistleblower said, was paid a substantial sum, allegedly in the ballpark of $190,000, a figure that later reappears in documents unearthed by private investigators working on behalf of journalists. The money was not just for carrying the child, the source claims, but for remaining silent for life. It included relocation support, a gag clause preventing media interviews, and even a provision prohibiting the woman from entering the UK without prior approval by royal legal representatives. Compounding the mystery was a set of emails leaked through an encrypted file-sharing site shortly after Meghan and Harry's departure from royal duties in early 2020. Though never verified by official channels, the emails appeared to show a discussion between Meghan's legal counsel and an unnamed medical facility in California about postpartum records being sealed due to visibility risk. One of the emails referenced external carrier privacy, a legal term sometimes used in surrogacy contracts. Another bizarre layer to this theory involved the Duchess's notorious avoidance of public hospital protocols. It is known that most royals deliver at the Lindo Wing at St. Mary's Hospital in London, the same place where Princess Diana, and later Kate Middleton, gave birth to their children. The royal tradition also included a public appearance with the newborn within hours of birth. But Meghan opted for a different route, a private birth with no public disclosure and no traditional hospital exit photo. Instead, a carefully staged, 2-minute press interaction inside Windsor Castle, days after the alleged birth, served as Archie's debut. Critics have long argued that if Meghan truly gave birth to Archie, the refusal to follow such a long-standing royal tradition, especially one that celebrated transparency, felt like a defiant deviation. Defenders argued it was simply a modern couple's right to privacy. But for those studying the timeline and the growing list of secrecy breaches, it was another red flag that reinforced the surrogate narrative. In addition to institutional protection, a powerful media firewall seemed to be in place. Attempts by journalists to dig deeper into hospital records, staff rosters, or private flight logs were met with legal threats. Editors received warnings. Television producers dropped coverage. Even seasoned royal correspondents with decades of experience were told, in no uncertain terms, to leave it alone. Several networks refused to air segments discussing the surrogacy theory, citing unverified claims and potential racial or social backlash. This media blackout, however, did little to stop the spread of information online. Independent researchers and investigative YouTubers picked up where mainstream outlets left off, uploading comparison videos, collecting anonymous tips, and even reconstructing a possible timeline of the surrogate's role. One particularly detailed series titled The Missing Mother received over 5 million views before being abruptly removed and its creator's channel terminated. No reason was given. There was also one more telling sign that helped legitimize the surrogate theory: the complete lack of any post-birth photos showing Meghan breastfeeding, carrying Archie in a natural mother-newborn bond, or displaying the expected physical recovery signs. Most mothers, especially public figures, are celebrated for their postpartum glow, their nursing journeys, and the early bonding experiences. In Meghan's case, those images were virtually non-existent. By the time Archie was 6 months old, many royal fans began to question if they had ever truly seen him in an organic family setting. Unlike William and Kate, who often shared casual, candid moments with their children, Meghan and Harry's baby photos were tightly edited, professional, and emotionally sterile. Many depicted Archie from behind, partially obscured, or in silhouette, adding to the suspicion that the Sussexes were hiding something deeper than just personal privacy. So who was the surrogate? To this day, no name has been publicly confirmed. There are whispers of a woman named Emily, possibly a medical assistant from Toronto, rumored to have ties with one of Meghan's yoga friends. Another unverified tip mentioned a private clinic in Los Angeles with surrogacy services often used by Hollywood celebrities. Regardless of the specifics, what remains consistent is the sheer level of secrecy and the calculated erasure of any trace of the real birth mother's existence. Sir Nicholas's explosive statement only strengthens these beliefs. According to sources close to him, he referenced a transatlantic contract, sealed maternal identity, and irregular custody provisions in his internal report to royal advisors, all terms synonymous with covert surrogacy arrangements. He has remained vague on the woman's identity but has insisted that the child's biological history deserves clarity, not concealment. The surrogate, whether paid off or silenced through legal means, remains invisible, a ghost in the most documented royal family in the world. And that invisibility may be the biggest clue of all. In the next chapter, we analyze Sir Nicholas's public statement word by word. His phrasing, timing, and deeper meaning hold the key to unraveling how far this cover-up may have extended and who within the palace helped engineer the deception. In a realm as tightly controlled as the British monarchy, words carry the weight of cannonballs. Each statement, particularly those from individuals within the palace's intimate inner circle, is weighed, measured, and often cleared through layers of communication advisors and legal counsel before reaching the public. That is what makes Sir Nicholas's statement not just an extraordinary act of rebellion, but a monumental shift in the way royal narratives are managed, contested, and exposed. Sir Nicholas Hardwicke, a confidant of King Charles for over 6 decades, delivered his stunning testimony about Meghan Markle's alleged deception surrounding the birth of Archie Harrison in a format both calculated and unflinching. It was not a live interview. It was not a reactive tweet. It was a written statement, deliberate, composed, and framed with surgical precision. In this chapter, we will break that statement down word by word, line by line. We will examine not only what Sir Nicholas said, but why he said it the way he did, and what lies beneath the layers of diplomatic phrasing. The truth is often in the details. And in Sir Nicholas's details, there may be a blueprint for understanding how this alleged cover-up unfolded and who knew about it all along. The statement begins, "The monarchy has stood for centuries, weathering war, scandal, and societal change. But it cannot withstand deception from within." From the outset, Sir Nicholas frames his words with a historical lens. He invokes the endurance of the monarchy, not as a boast, but as a warning. The first sentence is not about Meghan or Archie. It is about the crown. He wants to center the discussion not in personal betrayal, but institutional decay. By stating, it cannot withstand deception from within, he draws a sharp line between external threats, traditionally how the monarchy views criticism, and internal betrayal, which is treated with far more severity behind palace walls. This is the tone setter. It isn't tabloid language. It's somber, royal, even mournful. And it lets the reader know that what's coming next isn't mere speculation. It's framed as an act of duty. I have spent the greater part of my life beside the king, through both private trials and public duties. My allegiance has never been to individuals, but to the integrity of the institution. Here, Sir Nicholas separates personal loyalty from institutional responsibility. He makes clear that while his personal loyalty lies with Charles, his moral loyalty is to the monarchy as a concept. That's significant. It tells us that what he is about to reveal might be damaging to individuals Charles cares about, but he views his revelations as necessary for the institution's survival. This language is subtle but powerful. He's not speaking as a rogue informant. He's speaking as a custodian of royal values. In 2018, when news of the Duchess of Sussex's pregnancy became public, I, like many others, welcomed it as a sign of renewed vitality for the House of Windsor. The use of the phrase, "like many others," is deliberately distancing. He places himself within the general population, someone who bought into the narrative like everyone else. This does two things. It makes him appear relatable, and it sets up the contrast for the betrayal he will soon describe. But note the phrase, "news of the pregnancy." He doesn't say, "when Meghan became pregnant." He avoids confirming the pregnancy as fact. It's a subtle but deliberate framing device. He acknowledges the announcement, not the reality. Over time, however, circumstances arose which made it impossible for me to reconcile the public narrative with what I observed firsthand. This is the hinge upon which the entire statement turns. It is the first admission that he witnessed things privately that conflicted with the version being shown to the world. This line shifts Sir Nicholas from a passive observer to an active witness. The use of the word impossible is crucial. He doesn't say difficult or troubling. He says impossible. This language removes ambiguity. In his view, the inconsistencies were so blatant that ignoring them would be willful blindness. Among senior aides, and indeed within the king's private circle, there were murmurs of concern, questions left unspoken in official channels, but loud in the quiet corners of Windsor and Clarence House. Here, Sir Nicholas implicates others. This is not just his opinion. He alleges that senior aides and people within the king's closest confidants also had doubts. Murmurs of concern is a diplomatic way of saying suspicion. And the phrase, "loud in the quiet corners," is metaphorical but devastating, suggesting these weren't just private doubts but well-known behind closed doors. This line is more than poetic. It introduces the idea that there was a willful decision not to investigate or confront the inconsistencies. A passive conspiracy of silence. I raise these observations discreetly, as is my custom, through proper channels. No action was taken. I was asked to maintain discretion and to consider the greater good. Now Sir Nicholas is telling us he did not go public immediately. He followed protocol. He spoke through appropriate avenues, likely meaning he consulted royal advisors or submitted his concerns via private channels. The response? Silence. The phrase, "the greater good," is chilling. It implies that any potential damage to the monarchy's image was considered more dangerous than the truth. In effect, he was told to suppress his conscience. This sentence transforms Sir Nicholas into a reluctant whistleblower. He's establishing that he tried to fix the issue internally and only went public when he realized the palace had chosen image over integrity. The evidence I witnessed personally, though circumstantial, was profound in its implications. I cannot in good faith remain silent. He admits the evidence was circumstantial, an important legal distinction. He's not claiming to have medical records or a signed confession. He's saying that what he saw, when considered together, was too compelling to ignore. The phrase, "in good faith," is another ethical cue. He's presenting himself not as a vengeful insider, but as a man driven by principle. It is my firm belief, based on direct observation and corroborative accounts, that the Duchess of Sussex did not carry the child known to the public as Archie Harrison. This is the heart of the statement, the line that made headlines. A direct, unambiguous accusation. He frames it as firm belief, which is a legal safe zone, opinion, not fact. But he anchors it in direct observation and corroborative accounts. That means he saw things himself and had others confirm similar observations. In court, such corroboration could form the basis of testimony. Note also how he refers to Archie, the child known to the public as. It's a curious phrasing. Why not simply Archie Harrison? The implication, subtle as it may be, is that Archie's identity or origin may also be in question. The appearance of a synthetic gestational device was observed more than once, as was the presence of external staff whose purpose could not be accounted for by standard protocol. This line is possibly the most explosive. Appearance of a synthetic gestational device is a high-level way of saying moon bump. He doesn't use the term the public has adopted, but his wording is clinical and intentional. It reinforces the idea that he is trying to remain dignified while being brutally honest. The reference to external staff is also important. It suggests people brought in from outside the royal household. These individuals, he implies, had roles that didn't align with regular palace operations. Could these have been surrogacy consultants? Private nurses? Body doubles? He doesn't say, but he raises the question. My conscience compels me to bring this forward now, in hopes that those who have remained silent might finally speak. He is no longer merely disclosing a truth, he is calling others to do the same. This is a challenge, a dare. If other insiders know what he knows, he wants them to stop hiding. The timing now is worth noting. Why now? Some speculate that with King Charles recently ascending the throne, Sir Nicholas believes this is the last opportunity to cleanse the institution before it enters a new era. To the public, you are owed clarity, not for the sake of scandal, but for the sake of trust. He addresses the viewers, the readers, the nation. This is a rare move for someone of his status. Palace insiders don't usually speak to the public directly. By doing so, Sir Nicholas elevates this from a private grievance to a constitutional issue. Not for the sake of scandal, is meant to inoculate himself from accusations of attention-seeking. He's framing this not as entertainment, but as a matter of royal credibility. This is not an attack on the child. It is a reckoning with the system that allowed such deceit to take root. Sir Nicholas protects Archie here. He makes it clear that his statement is not about punishing a child, but about exposing an institutional failure. This line is both protective and accusatory. It shields the innocent while damning the system. Let truth guide us now, or illusion will govern us forever. The final line is poetic, ominous, and designed to echo in the minds of all who read it. It encapsulates the entire purpose of his statement. Either the royal family confronts its own illusions, or it becomes a prisoner to them. This is not just a confession. It is a demand for reckoning. In the next chapter, we explore King Charles's alleged knowledge of these events. Did he know about the moon bump? Did he question the pregnancy? And if he did, why did he stay silent? Is it possible that the king himself was forced to choose between his son's wife and the preservation of the crown? The monarchy is not a family in the traditional sense. It is an institution, a global symbol, and a centuries-old machine built on perception, legacy, and an unspoken rule. Appearances are everything. So when a revelation as seismic as Sir Nicholas's emerges, accusing Meghan Markle of faking her pregnancy with a prosthetic and involving a hidden surrogate, the question that instantly follows is not just, did she do it? But who else knew? And at the top of that list stands one man whose silence now echoes more loudly than any public statement, King Charles III. This chapter turns its lens toward Charles, the monarch who stood at the intersection of tradition and transformation. As Prince of Wales, he had spent nearly his entire adult life preparing for the crown. Yet amidst all that preparation, controversy, and constitutional responsibility, he may also have been forced to navigate a far more intimate crisis, a deception buried within his own family. According to Sir Nicholas, this wasn't just a lie told to the public. It was a lie that may have been whispered in the corridors of Clarence House, guarded by aides, and silently acknowledged behind royal walls. To understand Charles's possible knowledge or involvement, we must rewind to the earliest phases of Meghan's pregnancy announcement. When Kensington Palace released the official statement in October 2018, Charles, then Prince of Wales, was in the middle of strategic transitions. The Queen was aging, duties were quietly being delegated, and his public appearances were increasing. Meghan's pregnancy presented a perfect PR moment. The family was diversifying, modernizing. A biracial duchess giving birth to a royal heir marked a transformative moment in royal optics. It was a powerful image, and one that could not be interrupted by scandal or doubt. Sources within the palace claim that Charles's initial reaction to the pregnancy news was publicly delighted, but privately reserved. According to one staff member close to his office, Charles made a comment behind closed doors that now carries deeper implications. Let's be sure everything's in place before the world sees. At the time, this was interpreted as a reference to nursery arrangements, press logistics, or birth planning. But in light of what Sir Nicholas has alleged, some now believe it could have hinted at a deeper awareness of orchestration. It's no secret that Charles has a long history of avoiding confrontation in favor of image stability. During the Diana years, he often refused to engage in open conflict with the press or palace advisors, instead retreating into controlled statements and photo ops. This pattern of passive avoidance continued through various scandals, including Camilla's public rehabilitation and Harry's multiple PR controversies. Charles's strategy has always been control the optics, weather the storm, avoid direct conflict when possible. So when Meghan's pregnancy began raising questions internally about the fluctuating size of the bump, the lack of hospital engagement, or the sudden refusal to follow royal birthing traditions, many believe Charles adopted the same tactic. Ignore. Delay. Let the narrative settle into public acceptance before questions become too loud to contain. According to Sir Nicholas's internal account, Charles was presented with unofficial inquiries by two senior aides between January and March 2019. These aides reportedly flagged visual inconsistencies, noted that certain protocols were being bypassed, and even suggested that Meghan's medical arrangements were being handled by private consultants outside the royal medical team. These inquiries were submitted quietly, with discretion. They never received an official reply. Sir Nicholas alleges that Charles was aware of these concerns. He may not have investigated them directly, but he was briefed, however vaguely, about the possibility that Meghan's pregnancy was not what it appeared. At the time, Charles's team was advised to preserve narrative integrity. That phrase, now infamous among royal insiders, is believed to have come from a senior communications officer, indicating a decision had been made to protect the family's image at all costs. Why would Charles not pursue the truth? The answer may lie in what was at stake. At that point in 2019, the monarchy was riding a wave of renewed popularity. Meghan had become a media darling. The couple's international tour had been celebrated. Public approval ratings were strong. To question the legitimacy of her pregnancy would have been catastrophic, not just for Meghan, but for the entire institution. It would suggest a breakdown in trust, an ability for deception to flourish under the royal banner. The palace would not recover quickly from such a revelation. Furthermore, Charles had only just repaired years of damage from his tumultuous past with Diana. His relationship with Camilla had finally been accepted. The Queen's health was beginning to wane, and preparations for his reign were being discussed more openly. The last thing he needed was an internal scandal involving his younger son's wife, especially one that could potentially destabilize the line of succession. Because if Meghan did not give birth to Archie, and if that surrogacy was hidden from both the public and portions of the royal household, the constitutional implications would be staggering. Questions would arise about Archie's titles, his eligibility for royal privileges, and whether such concealment violated royal succession protocol. By allowing the narrative to go unquestioned, Charles could avoid these complications. But at what cost? Insiders now claim that Charles's private demeanor toward Meghan began shifting in late 2019, following the couple's decision to step back from royal duties. One staffer said, he didn't speak ill of her, but he became cold, distant, like he knew something he couldn't say aloud. Another said Charles once remarked during a private garden walk, there are some truths not worth digging for. This reluctance to confront, or even publicly address, difficult truths has long defined Charles's leadership style. But the cost of that avoidance may now be catching up with him. Sir Nicholas's statement paints Charles not necessarily as a conspirator, but as an enabler. A man who suspected, who possibly knew more than he was willing to admit, but who chose silence over chaos. And what of his relationship with Prince Harry? That too has deteriorated, publicly, dramatically. Their distance over the past 2 years has been attributed to Harry's attacks on the institution, his memoir, and his interviews. But could some of that strain be rooted in this older deception? Some believe that Charles, upon realizing the full scope of what may have occurred, fake pregnancy, secret surrogate, global manipulation, felt deeply betrayed, not just by Meghan, but by Harry for allowing it. One royal watcher close to the family said, Charles always had a blind spot for Harry. But this was different. This wasn't about foolish mistakes. It was about dishonor. There is also the possibility that Charles feared legal consequences. If he publicly acknowledged knowledge of the deception, or confirmed even part of the moon bump theory, the monarchy could face a constitutional crisis. Legal challenges could be launched regarding Archie's titles. Parliament might feel pressured to intervene. The Queen's legacy of control and stability would be overshadowed by chaos. By remaining silent, Charles preserved the appearance of unity, even as the foundation cracked beneath his feet. It's also worth noting that Charles has long relied on a shrinking inner circle. Since taking the throne, he has sought to slim down the monarchy. That slimming may have come at a cost. Fewer people around him willing to challenge him or present uncomfortable truths. Sir Nicholas, perhaps the last of the truly independent advisors, represents a voice that Charles cannot dismiss so easily. In recent months, Charles has noticeably avoided making statements about Archie or Lilibet. When asked by a reporter whether he had seen his California-based grandchildren, he responded with a diplomatic smile and deflected. When Christmas greetings were shared with the public, only William's children were featured in official releases. These gestures, while subtle, suggest a deep rift. Whether that rift stems from family politics or the moon bump deception remains unconfirmed. But for those watching closely, it's impossible to separate the two. If Charles knew, or even suspected, that Meghan's pregnancy was faked and that a surrogate had been used under the guise of traditional birth, his silence becomes a form of complicity. It means the crown willingly chose deception over transparency. It means the sovereign, tasked with embodying honesty and continuity, chose the quiet comfort of illusion. And now, with Sir Nicholas's testimony ripping away the curtain, Charles faces a choice. Continue to remain silent and risk being remembered as a king who let a lie become royal history, or confront the truth and gamble the public's trust for the sake of institutional renewal. In the next chapter, we will examine how the rest of the royal family responded, or failed to respond, to the growing suspicions. We'll uncover what Princess Anne knew, what William reportedly said in private, and why Kate Middleton's subtle body language might speak louder than any official statement. The British royal family is often praised, and sometimes criticized, for its tightly choreographed public unity. Whether standing on palace balconies or greeting crowds in distant Commonwealth countries, the image they present to the world is one of strength, solidarity, and continuity. But behind those walls, there is a different story, one of private tensions, whispered doubts, and in the case of Meghan Markle's alleged pregnancy deception, a growing silence that has started to look like complicity. If Sir Nicholas's testimony is accurate, the conflicting signals from other senior royals reveal a far deeper schism than what the public was allowed to see. In this chapter, we explore how each member of the core royal family responded or didn't respond to Meghan's controversial pregnancy and what their words, actions, or lack thereof may tell us about what they knew and when they knew it. We begin with Queen Elizabeth II. The Queen, a master of poise or a willful enabler. Throughout her reign, Queen Elizabeth II embodied stoic diplomacy. Her refusal to publicly involve herself in scandals, no matter how loud, became a hallmark of her leadership. But in matters of succession and legitimacy, topics central to monarchy itself, she was always known to take a more serious, behind-the-scenes role. In the case of Meghan's pregnancy, the Queen issued a short but enthusiastic statement upon the official announcement in October 2018. Their Royal Highnesses the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are very pleased to announce that the Duchess of Sussex is expecting a baby in the spring of 2019. That was it. No personal quotes. No elaboration. According to palace insiders, this lack of personalization was unusual. When Kate Middleton announced her pregnancies, the Queen often provided specific commentary, expressing her joy more directly. In Meghan's case, the message was clinical, brief, and delivered through aides. One source who previously worked in the Queen's press office said, "It was as if they were acknowledging the event because they had to, not because they were genuinely overjoyed." Furthermore, the Queen's absence during key milestones of Meghan's pregnancy raised eyebrows. She was not present at the post-birth photo op at Windsor Castle. She did not visit Meghan during the reported labor. She did not issue a personal message following Archie's birth. These omissions are striking when compared to her active involvement with her other great-grandchildren. It seemed that, from the start, the Queen kept her distance. It's also telling that in her 2019 Christmas broadcast, the first one after Archie's birth, the Queen displayed framed photos of William and Kate with their children, Charles and Camilla, and even Prince Philip. Archie's photo was nowhere in sight. The absence was glaring to many. Some dismissed it as an oversight. Others, including insiders like Sir Nicholas, now view it as a quiet signal of royal skepticism. Prince William, the brother torn between duty and disbelief. Prince William, as the future king, is held to a stricter standard than his younger brother. But beneath his public reserve lies a man known for his bluntness and sense of justice. Several sources claim that William expressed early reservations about Meghan, long before the moon bump controversy began. It's widely documented that William told Harry to take things slow when his relationship with Meghan became serious. That tension reportedly never eased. After the wedding, William grew more distant from Harry, and by the time of Meghan's pregnancy announcement, the brothers were barely speaking beyond formal events. According to royal insiders, William voiced concern about Meghan's rapidly shifting status in the royal hierarchy. He questioned why she was allowed to break so many traditions, from not wearing the Queen's preferred designers, to skipping press engagements, to shutting out trusted royal staff. But it was during the pregnancy itself that William allegedly began suspecting something was wrong. A royal aide who previously worked at Kensington Palace claims that William once privately remarked after seeing a video of Meghan's bumps swinging unnaturally, "Is it just me, or is something off?" The comment was never followed up with formal inquiries. Perhaps out of fear of escalating a rift, but it reveals that he too noticed inconsistencies. Another source claims that William sought a private meeting with the Queen to raise these concerns, but was discouraged from entertaining conspiracies that shut down any formal inquiry. From that point forward, William became even more distanced from Harry and Meghan. During the Christmas service at Sandringham in December 2019, the coldness between the two brothers was undeniable. William barely acknowledged them. Kate did not engage Meghan directly. One journalist close to William's team has stated off-record that William believes a deception occurred, and he wants nothing to do with it. Princess and the silent observer who raised early questions. Princess Anne, the Queen's only daughter, is known for being direct, blunt, and unapologetically traditional. She famously refused royal titles for her own children and has always been a staunch supporter of protocol. In private, she was never close to Meghan, and her coolness became obvious after Meghan and Harry's wedding. Palace insiders suggest that Anne was one of the first to raise questions about Meghan's behavior and, later, her pregnancy. One anonymous courtier who worked during 2018 claimed that Anne asked a pointed question at a private family gathering. "Where are the records? Who is her doctor?" This was seen as both a challenge and a warning. Unlike others, Anne never went public with her discomfort, but she also never participated in any public praise of Meghan during the pregnancy period. She skipped the baby shower, was absent at the Windsor photo op, and later told staff that "this is not how we do things in this family." Her stance was consistent. Private concern, no public conflict. But in retrospect, her early doubts now appear more like an unheeded warning than mere gossip. Kate Middleton, the polished surface, the hidden message. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has mastered the royal art of nonverbal communication. As Meghan's pregnancy unfolded, Kate maintained a calm, composed exterior, but her body language during shared appearances with Meghan spoke volumes. During a joint engagement at Westminster Abbey in March 2019, one of the few times the duchesses were seen together late in Meghan's pregnancy, Kate appeared distant and stiff. She rarely made eye contact. Analysts in body language noted subtle signs of tension, tight jaw, turned shoulders, and minimal engagement. According to a member of the royal household who observed several events up close, Kate didn't trust her. She smiled for the cameras, but there was always a wall. Kate reportedly refused to participate in the photo op after Archie's birth. Unlike with Prince Louis, where she visited the hospital to welcome the new child, Kate stayed home. No visit, no statement, no photo. This silence became even more telling when rumors emerged that Meghan had worn a prosthetic belly. Kate, who had experienced 3 very public pregnancies, was rumored to be furious that the same expectations and traditions were not required of Meghan. A family friend once noted, Kate played the long game. She didn't fight Meghan in public, but she never endorsed her either. Camilla, the compartmentalizer. Queen Camilla has long been the target of public controversy.